What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we've got our Week 4 fantasy football running back starts and sits for every single matchup, so make sure to tune in. If you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear in the comment section, do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have. We will do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, let's get right into it. Today's video is brought to you guys by Birddogs. And look, I know we're all searching for that perfect pair of shorts or pants that offers the best style, the best comfort, the best bang for your buck. Well, guess what? That search is over because Birddogs offers all of that and so much more. If you're looking for shorts, they have a ton of options with activewear, casual wear, or even beachwear. On top of that, their pants have a selection of khakis, joggers, and sweatpants. So what are you waiting for? Regardless of the occasion of the season, get yourself the most stylish, the most comfortable pair of pants with a built-in liner from Birddogs.com. And if you use promo code ADP today, you'll get a free rope hat with your purchase. Again, that's Birddogs.com, code ADP, and you'll get a free rope hat with your purchase. Make sure to check out birddogs.com, link in the description. We kick off week 4 with the Dolphins at the Bengals. I'm not going to lie to you, I much prefer the pass catchers in this matchup. But we still have a name that we should focus on a little bit. That's Joe Mixon of the Bengals. I have him as a start. He's coming off a very disappointing performance. All things considered that, the Bengals played the Jets. They were up. You thought the usage would be there, especially late in the game. No, it wasn't. But when you look into it, the reason for that, Mixon dealing with a bit of an ankle injury. Now, it doesn't seem to be too serious, so I anticipate he plays here, but I wouldn't be shocked if he's less than 100%. P. Ryan might get some usage. I wouldn't go chasing the touchdown success from last week with P. Ryan. That's why he's a sit. But I think this is going to be more so an aerial showdown. The Bengals offensive line also underperforming the Dolphins, a much better opponent than the New York Jets. I think Mixon, at the end of the day, is going to finish outside of the top 12 running backs this week when you put all those things together. So I have him as a low to mid-level running back 2 on the week. As far as the Dolphins, I'm sitting both Edmonds and Mostert. Look, I realize Edmonds had a good performance in week 3, but that's just because he stumbled in the end zone twice. Other than that, didn't do anything special, didn't get volume. Him and Mostert basically split that backfield. And for that reason, both these guys are sits. They're going to be touchdown dependent. So we are passing on both of them here. Afterwards, Vikings at the Saints. Now, there were a lot of running back injuries in week 3, including Dalvin Cook. You see the asterisk next to his name. It's still early in the week at the time of this recording, so we don't have a lot of news on these injuries. But if Dalvin Cook doesn't play, Alexander Mattison is a guy that has top 12 upside. I don't necessarily love the matchup, but I think you're still going to start him because he's just going to get a lot of usage, especially in the red zone and just in general. If Dalvin Cook does play, which I think kind of right now is unlikely, then obviously you sit Alexander Mattison. But that's just a situation that you're going to have to wait until we get closer to kickoff. For the Saints, Alvin Kamara, it might sound crazy, but I preferred both Dalvin Cook and Alexander Mattison as far as running back starts than Kamara. Reason for that is, Jameis Winston, I think, is just not utilizing Kamara, or maybe the coaches, the offense that they want to implement. Kamara has to be the focal point of this offense. He's a great pass catcher. He's a very good rusher. Whether it's Jameis Winston being inaccurate, whether it's the Saints being down very quick to start off games, and then Kamara not being able to run the football, those are all issues. And for that reason, I also have him as an RB2. If the Saints go down big, I'm concerned about Kamara. Maybe his first game back from that rib injury, that's why he wasn't as involved. But either way, you were hoping for a top 5 performance week in and week out from Kamara. It hasn't been there. I think we need to be looking at him more so in the running back 2 category. And then I'm sitting Mark Ingram. Look, if Kamara plays, Mark Ingram, just like last week, he's only viable if he gets a touchdown. Otherwise, he's nothing more than a handcuff. Afterwards, Seahawks at the Lions. Yet another game with running back injuries. DeAndre Swift dealing with a injury that will, in my opinion, hold him out for this week, maybe even longer. And with that being the case, I think Jamal Williams is a great start. I think he is a top 10 running back on the week. And if somehow DeAndre Swift does play, I would actually still start Jamal Williams because I think Swift is going to be on a pitch count. In that case, you still start Swift. I think you have to, but I think that's very, very unlikely. So more than anything, I think we're looking at Jamal Williams as a start here. And again, he could very well be a top 12 guy considering the matchup versus the Seahawks and how good the Lions offense has been. Speaking of the Seahawks, I have Rashad Penny as a sit. He had a chance versus the Falcons to do some damage. It was a close game, high-scoring game. He dominated the usage in terms of the running backs, but nothing too special. And here, I think this is a game where I've said it before with Rashad Penny and the Seahawks, it's going to depend a lot on game flow, and I don't think this is in favor of the Seahawks. I think the Lions have been very good offensively, and I just don't think the Seahawks have that firepower. I wouldn't be shocked if they fall behind quickly. They have to abandon the run. So all in all, I think Rashad Penny is a sit. Then Jets at the Steelers. I'm only starting Najee Harris here. Good news is, even though he's been kind of disappointing at kickoff of the season, I think he should have a great chance to improve on those performances here in Week 4. I have him as a top 10 running back versus the Jets. Even if it's a low-scoring affair, he should be very involved as a rusher and as a pass catcher. Then on the flip side, Breece Hall, Michael Carter, I currently have as sits. Both these guys are getting pretty much the same amount of carries, like 10 carries a game. It's really the pass-catching work that's going to bring their value week in and week out. Hall had a great performance in that area, but I just don't think it's going to be duplicated week in and week out. The Steelers' defense, very, very good. So I'd rather not, get too cute with these running backs. If you force me to pick one, I'd probably go Breece Hall just because I think he has higher upside. But again, both kind of boom or bust in my opinion. Then Bears at the Giants. David Montgomery, another guy that got hurt in Week 3. We'll see if he plays. Khalil Herbert filled in absolutely sensationally in his absence. That's why I was saying all offseason long, he is a very underrated handcuff. Hopefully you have him if you're a Montgomery owner because you're going to start him. Now, I don't love this matchup. This is a tougher matchup than that versus the Texans last week, but you're still going to go with Khalil Herbert. If Montgomery plays, which again I think is a long shot, then I would be sitting Herbert because I think it's going to be too tough for Herbert to get the volume that you want. But Herbert, again, I think he's going to be a top 15 running back just because of the volume he's going to get. Honestly, the only people delivering fantasy value on the Chicago offense right now are the running backs. So from that perspective, you're going to go with one of these guys. For the Giants, it's easy. Saquon Barkley, right now, he still hasn't played at the time of the recording, but it doesn't matter. As long as he's healthy, you fire him up. Top 10 running back type of upside. We saw what Dameon Pierce did versus the Bears. Saquon Barkley can have success as well. Next up, we've got the Titans at the Colts here. You're going to start both the top names, Derrick Henry and Jonathan Taylor. With Henry, he finally had that huge week that we were all waiting for. It was a game where it was a lot closer. The game script was in favor of the Tennessee Titans. So naturally, Derrick Henry did his thing. I think here versus the Colts, the type of football they've played the first 3 weeks of the season, it's going to be a similar type of situation. So you start Derrick Henry with confidence. He's a top 10 play on the week and top 5 in standard formats. For the Colts, Jonathan Taylor, you also start him. Yes, he's been disappointing these last 2 weeks, but he's still getting great volume as a rusher. He's being utilized as a pass catcher, which is great. And once the touchdowns come, then, he's going to be back to what he was being drafted, and that's a top 2 guy. I do have a little bit more faith in Derrick Henry just because I think it's going to be a little bit more favorable, this game script right now for him. But either way, I think Jonathan Taylor, also a top 10 running back. And then I'm sitting in Nyheim Hines. Right now, he's just a guy that's getting a lot of volume in the pass catching department. But I think Matt Ryan right now, just a little bit too tough to trust. And I don't think it's going to be a situation where Hines gets 5-6 catches every single week consistently. So I'm sitting him here. Then Chargers at the Texans. I'll start both the top guys, Austin Eckler and Dameon Pierce. I think this could be that huge Austin Eckler week that we are waiting for. Yes, Justin Herbert isn't 100% healthy. He still played in Week 3. But look at what Khalil Herbert just did versus this Texans defense. I think Austin Eckler can do something very, very similar. And, can finally be that top 5 running back that you drafted him to be. For the Texans, you go with Dameon Pierce. He's going to get the volume. I don't love the matchup, but I think he is a decent low-end RB2 on the week. Afterwards, Browns at the Falcons. You start Nick Chubb, you start Kareem Hunt. I think this is a great matchup for both of them, especially Nick Chubb. Top 10 running back on the week across all formats. Kareem Hunt in PPR formats, a solid flex start appeal, as has been the case to kick off the season. And then for the Falcons, you start Cordero Patterson. I think in games where it's closer, Cordero Patterson is a guy that's viable. And I think here versus the Browns, the type of football they've played, it's going to be that type of situation. So I do like Cordero Patterson, but to me, he is a low-end RB2. Then Commanders at the Cowboys. I'll start Antonio Gibson, and I'll sit J.D. McKissic. I said it last week with these Washington rushers. In situations where you think the game is going to be close, back and forth, and not a blowout where Washington has to come back from, Gibson is the start, and then McKissic becomes a sit. Last week, when it was a blowout and the Commanders had to come back on the Eagles, McKissic got a lot of volume as a pass catcher. Gibson was lucky to save his day because of a touchdown. So I think it's going to be the opposite here versus the Cowboys. That's why I see Gibson as a start. I think he is a low-end RB2. For Dallas, this Washington defense doesn't scare me at all. And I think that Zeke and Tony Pollard are going to be very heavily utilized in this game, considering Dak Prescott is still out. And, you're not going to need too much from the quarterback position here. I think the rushers can carry you. I actually have Zeke and Tony Pollard both above Antonio Gibson on the week, just because, again, great matchup for them. Zeke, slightly higher upside. I have him as a mid to high-end RB2. Tony Pollard as a low to mid-level RB2. Following this, Jaguars at the Eagles. I take back everything that I've said about James Robinson. Look, I thought that late season Achilles injury was going to doom him. I couldn't have been more wrong. You start him. He's been sensational. I don't know what else to say. I'm waving the white flag on this one. You're going to start him. He is a mid to high-end running back 2 on the week. But again, it's going to be a situation where I don't think the game script is going to go like it did for the Jaguars this last week. This is going to be a little bit more of a competitive game. So temper your expectations with Robinson. For the Eagles, I know Miles Sanders was kind of disappointing this last week, but he still got the volume, which was great to see. I have him as a low-end RB2 on the week. And then I'm sitting Travis Etienne. He just isn't getting the volume, and 3 to 4 catches per week isn't going to do it for me to have him as a start. Then Bills at the Ravens. I only really want to trust Devin Singletary here. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. And even though he's not getting insane volume, I think this Bills offense is very good. And, he's still the primary rusher on this team, so I like his upside. I don't think he's going to duplicate what he did this last week, but either way, I think he can be a low-end RB2 here in what should be one of the highest-scoring games of the week. And then for the Ravens, following that logic, that game flow, I don't think they're going to be able to afford to focus on the rushing attack here more than just kind of, highlighting Lamar Jackson. Justice Hill, J.K. Dobbins didn't really get too much usage this last week. I thought that if Dobbins played, that meant that, the Ravens were confident in giving him a big workload. That wasn't really the case. To be fair, it was a game that was back and forth, a lot of points, so that did have something to do with it. And again, by that logic, if it's something similar here, I'm sitting the rushers for the Ravens. Then Cardinals at the Panthers. I'll start both the top names, James Conner, Christian McCaffrey. Look, Conner was nursing a bad ankle, so it's tough to put too much stock into the game last week. I do like his involvement in the passing attack for what it's worth. I think he's going to do better versus the Panthers, so I'm going to start him. I have him as a mid-level running back too. The Panthers, Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey doesn't have the same upside he's had the last couple of years, and a lot of that has to do with Baker Mayfield. I said that about McCaffrey. I've said that about DJ Moore. It's going to continue to be the case. But the good news is the Cardinals have been a team that's been giving up a lot of points, and I do think McCaffrey is a low-end RB1 in the week, a little bit higher upside in PPR formats. Then Broncos at the Raiders. I'll start Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. I think this is going to be a game where they're both heavily utilized. We saw what Derrick Henry just did to the Raiders. I think Williams and Melvin Gordon can have some success here as well. I have both of them as low-end RB2s for the Raiders. I'll start Josh Jacobs. Similar, this is a tough matchup for him. a little bit tougher than what the Broncos are going to face in the Raiders defense, but he's going to get so much volume. If he just gets that touchdown success, he's going to go from a running back 2 to a running back 1 on the week. So that's going to be the main thing to watch there. Afterwards, Patriots at the Packers. You start Aaron Jones, you start A.J. Dillon. They are the two focal points of this offense pretty much week in and week out. Aaron Rodgers is more so a game manager. I like Aaron Jones as a low-end RB1, A.J. Dillon, mid-level RB2. For the Patriots, Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson are sits. And the reason for that, Mac Jones hurt. He's going to miss a lot of time. At least that's what we are expecting. So we got Brendan Hoyer under center. And, if Aaron Rodgers was hurt for the Packers, similar type of situation. I'd be sitting both Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Mac Jones out. I'm sitting both Harrison and Ramondre Stevenson. Look, they're both going to get similar type of usage in terms of like 10 carries apiece, something like that. Neither are big weapons in the receiving category, so I'm sitting them here. I think the Patriots are going to find themselves down bad, and in that situation, they're going to have to focus on throwing the football. So Harrison, Ramondre Stevenson without Mac Jones, no thank you. Afterwards, Chiefs at the Bucs. I'll start Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's not getting extreme usage. We didn't think that would be the case, but he's getting a lot of work as a pass catcher, which has been encouraging. I have him as a low-end running back 2 on the week here versus this tough Bucs defense. And then you start Leonard Fournette. He has been underwhelming, but again, that Bucs offensive line has been banged up. Their other pass catchers haven't been there to open things up and make that passing attack, dangerous. So once those guys get healthier, I think there's going to be some more success. I think this will be a higher scoring game as well. I have Leonard Fournette as a high-end running back 2, and then I'm sitting Jerick McKinnon. Yes, he's a guy that's getting similar type of volume in the rushing department as CEH, but just isn't doing too much otherwise, so I'm sitting him. Then Rams at the 49ers. I'll start Jeff Wilson. That's the only rusher that I'm interested in. He's getting great volume and doing pretty well with it, so I like him there. I think he's going to be a mid-level RB2 on the week. And then the Rams running backs, I'm sitting both of them. This 49ers defense, very stingy. And, even though Akers is getting a little bit more work these last couple of weeks, I still think Henderson is going to be utilized, so I'm sitting both these guys. But with that, we wrap up our Week 4 fantasy football running back starts and sits for every single matchup. As always, if you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear in the comment section, do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have. We will do our best to answer them all. In the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.